Students, you are probably familiar with sulphur as a natural element, but did you know that organic sulphur is vital to health? Sulphur is one of the basic building blocks of vibrant body, essential for maintaining everything from youthful skin and joints to a healthy digestive system. Sulphur has been used commonly since the years 18,000. Grandma's spring tonic consisted mainly of sulphur and molasses. This also acted as a laxative. Sulphur has been known as the beauty mineral because it helps the complexion and the skin stay clear and youthful. The hydrogen sulfide gas in onions is what causes tearing. This gas can also be made by intestinal bacteria and is absorbed by the body or released as gas with a characteristic odor. So today Dr. C. Anita will elaborate on sulphur. Let us begin with a brief introduction. Sulphur is a chemical element with symbol S and atomic number 16. It is abundant, multivalent and non-metallic. Under normal conditions, sulphur atoms form cyclic atomic molecules with the chemical formula S8. Elemental sulphur is a bright yellow crystalline solid at room temperature. Chemically, sulphur reacts with all elements except for gold, platinum, iridium, tellurium and the noble gases. Sulphur is an essential element for all life, but almost always in the form of organosulfur compounds or metal sulfides. 3 amino acids, that is cysteine, cytine and methionine, and 2 vitamins, that is biotin and thiamine, are organosulfur compounds. Many cofactors also contain sulphur, including glutathione and thyrodoxine and iron sulfur proteins. Disulfides, SS bonds confer mechanical strength and insolubility of the protein keratin found in outer skin, hair and feathers. Sulphur is one of the core chemical element needed for biochemical functioning and is an elemental macronutrient for all organisms. Sulphur makes up vital amino acids used to create protein for cells and tissues and for hormones, enzymes and antibodies. The body uses up its store daily, so it must be continuously replenished for optimal health and nutrition. Sulphur is needed for insulin production. With this introduction, we shall move to the other important aspects of sulphur with the following objectives. After studying this episode, you will be able to understand distribution of sulphur in the human body, enumerate the absorption mechanism and utilization, discuss the excretion, explain the deficiency and toxicity, and identify the dietary sources. Let us start with the distribution. Do you know that sulphur is an essential component for all living cells? And it is the third most abundant mineral in the body. About half concentrated in your muscles, skin and bones, and is essential for life, about equal in abundance to potassium and slightly greater than sodium and chlorine. A 70 kg human body contains about 140 grams of sulphur. Sulphur represents about 0.25% of our total body weight like potassium. The body contains approximately 140 grams of sulphur mainly in the proteins, although it is distributed in lesser amounts in all cells and tissues. Sulphur has a characteristic odor that can be smelled when hair or sheep's wool is burnt. Keratin present in the skin, hair and nails is particularly high in the amino acid cysteine, which is found in sulphur. The sulfur-sulfur bond in keratin gives it greater strength. Sulphur is present 0.5 to 1.1 milligram per 100 ml in inorganic form in the blood serum, 0.1 to 1 milligram per 100 ml as eternal sulfate, and 1.7 to 3.5 milligram per 100 ml as neutral sulfur. In the next subsection, we shall understand the mechanism of absorption of sulfur. Sulfur is absorbed from the small intestine primarily as the 4 sulfur containing amino acids or from sulfates in water or fruits and vegetables. It is thought that elemental sulfur is not used by the human organism. Sulfur is stored in all body cells, especially the skin, hair and nails. Excess amounts are eliminated through the urine or in the feces. Inorganic sulfate is absorbed as such from the intestine into the portal circulation. Small amount of sulfide may be formed in the bowel by the action of bacteria, but if absorbed into the bloodstream, it is rapidly oxidized to sulfate. With the understanding of the absorption of sulfur, we shall now move on to its utilization in the body. Dr. Gabriel Consens quoted that sulfur connects the spirit and the body, mind to action, thoughts to action, and is the bridge between the worlds of the higher planes and the lower planes. Sulfur deficiency has been associated with depression, irritability, anger, rage, remorse, more emotional reliability, and more fear-based living and hypersensitivity. A normal mind is calmer and you can concentrate better. Sulfur is an important part of brain function and important to the heart, ligaments, joint function, liver, adrenals, pineal and pituitary function. Sulfur is present in the cell protein in the form of cysteine and methionine. Cysteine plays an important part in the protein structure and enzyme activity. Methionine is the principal methyl group donor in the body. The activated form of methionine, S-adenosyl methionine, is the precursor in the synthesis of a large number of methylated compounds which are involved in intermediary metabolism and detoxification mechanism. Iron sulfur proteins are found in the electron transport chain. Sulfur containing vitamins like biotin, pantothenic acid, thiamine, lipoic acid are involved as coenzymes. They are utilized in the synthesis of acetyl-CoA, malonyl-CoA, etc., which are involved in fatty acid oxidation and synthesis. Sulfur containing amino acid methionine is actively involved in transmethylation reactions, and S-aldenose methionine also acts as the inhibitor in initiation process of protein synthesis. It is a component of a number of other organic compounds such as heparin, glutathione, thiamine, pantothenic acid, biotin, insulin, penicillin, anterior pituitary hormones and melanin. Sulfur containing amino acids are essential for the structural conformation and biological functions of proteins, enzymes, hormones, antibodies, etc. The body uses up its store daily, so it must be continuously replenished for optimal health and nutrition. Sulfur is needed for insulin production. Insulin controls carbohydrate metabolism, but insufficient sulfur makes it harder for the pancreas to produce enough insulin and makes cells less available to absorb things from the blood, contributing to blood sugar problems. Sulfur detoxifies at the cellular level and relieves pain. Sulfur affects this by helping your body build strong, breathable cell walls that properly balance cell pressure. Having Enough sulphur helps your body to remove toxins that may suffocate the cells or swell them, causing pain, allergies, stiffness and muscle soreness. Sulphur builds flexible cells in the arteries and veins, the opposite of hardening of the arteries. Elastic, breathable blood vessel tissues are able to pass oxygen and nutrients through their walls to nourish the rest of the body and handle the body's blood flow without stress. Sulphur has been called nature's beauty mineral because it keeps your complexion clear and youthful and hair glossy and smooth. It is necessary for formation of collagen, the protein found in connective tissue in our bodies. Collagen production in your body depends on sulphur to create healthy skin and heal scars. For example, sulphur removes acne by resolving scars, removing toxins from the skin and creating healthy new skin cells. When you have enough sulphur in your body, your skin and hair are more flexible, softer and smoother. Sulphur is also present in keratin, which is necessary for the maintenance of the skin, hair and nails, helping to give strength, shape and hardness to these protein tissues. Sulphur is also present in the fur and feathers of other animals. The cysteine in hair gives off the sulphur smell when it is burned. Sulphur, as cysteine and methionine, is a part of other important body chemicals. Insulin, which helps regulate carbohydrate metabolism, and heparin, an anticoagulant. Taurine is found in bile acids used in digestion. The mycopolysaccharides may contain chondroitin sulfate, which is important to joint tissues. Sulphur is important to cellular respiration as it is needed in the oxidation reduction reactions that help the cells utilize oxygen, which aids brain function and all cell activity. These reactions are dependent on cysteine, which also helps the liver produce bile secretions and eliminate other toxins. L-cysteine is thought to generally help body detoxification mechanisms through the tripeptide compound glutathione. Sulphur is important to cellular respiration as it is needed in the oxidation reduction reaction that help the cell utilize oxygen, which aids brain function and all cell activity. Did you know sulphur is important to cellular respiration as it is needed to help cells utilize oxygen, which aids brain function and all cell activity? The importance of sulphur in human body. Sulphur is a mineral in our body that is needed for enzyme activity, hormone balance and function of immune system. It is an important component of collagen and connective tissues that assist the body in preventing inflammation and facilitating connective tissue repair. It is very useful for healing skin and digestive problem. Now we identify the dietary sources of sulphur. Sulphur is taken mainly as cysteine and methionine present in proteins. Other compounds in the diet contributed small amounts of sulphur. The best plant source for sulphur are found in the allium family, which is high in allyl sulfides and sulfoxides. These include onion, garlic, leeks, shots and chives. The cruciferous vegetable family has sulphur containing isothiocyanates that are potent cancer fighters. These foods include broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, radish. Animal foods rich in sulphur containing amino acids include organic eggs, wild caught fish and grass-fed beef. Raw dairy from grass-fed cows is a great source of sulphur containing amino acids. Non-degenerated whey protein from grass-fed cows is the richest source of sulphur containing amino acids. Let us understand excretion. Sulphur is excreted by the kidney in urine in the form of inorganic organic and ethereal sulfate. Sulfur is oxidized in the liver to sulfate and excreted. Unoxidized sulfur is in the form of sulfur-containing amino acids, thiocyanates, etc. Total sulfate excretion may be diminished in renal function impairment and is increased in condition accompanied by excessive tissue breakdown, as in high fever and increased metabolism. Taurine and sulfuric acid are the end products of sulfur metabolism. The sulfuric acid is either neutralized and excreted as inorganic sulfates in the urine or conjugated with phenol, glucuronic acid and indoxal. The taurine is conjugated with cholic acid and excreted in the bile. Deficiency and toxicity. There is minimal reason for concern about either toxicity or deficiency of sulfur in the body. No clearly defined symptoms exist with either state. Sulfur deficiency is more common when foods are grown in sulfur depleted soil with low protein diets or with a lack of intestinal bacteria, though none of these seems to cause any problems in regard to sulfur functions and metabolism. Sulfur deficiency. Proteins vary widely in sulfur content depending on their amino acid composition. The performed amino acid and sulfur deficiency are reflected as sulfur containing amino acid deficiencies. Sulfur deficiency has been associated with the following symptoms or illness: itchy skin or scaly, eczema, acne, diaper rash, migraine headaches, flatulence, indigestion, vomiting or diarrhea, hemorrhoids, impotence, painful and irregular menstruation, sore throat, toothache, nose bleeds, measles, joint pain, hay fever, fever with hot and cold sweats, bedwetting, breastfeeding problems, arthritis, immune dysfunction, brittle nails, brittle hair, convulsions, depression, memory loss, lung dysfunction, inflammation, rashes, scar tissue, slow wound healing and gastrointestinal challenges. Students, in this module, sulfur was focused on its distribution, absorption and utilization, food sources, and lastly, we have seen the excretion as well as deficiency. Now, let us sum up this episode. Sulfur is an interesting non-metallic element that is found mainly as part of larger compounds. Sulfur is present in 4 amino acids: methionine, an essential amino acid, the non-essential cytine and cysteine, which can be made from methionine, and taurine, which is not a part of body tissues but does help produce bile acid for digestion. Sulfur is also present in 2 B vitamins, that is thiamine and biotin. Interestingly, thiamine is important to skin and biotin to hair. Sulfur is also available as various sulfates or sulfides. Sulfur is readily available in protein foods, that is meats, fish, poultry, egg, milk and legumes are all good sources. Egg yolks are one of the better source of sulfur. Other foods that contain this are onion, garlic, cabbage, Brussels sprouts and turnips. Nuts have some amount of sulfur. Lettuce, keep and other seaweeds and raspberries also do have some amount of sulfur. Complete vegetarians and people on low protein diets may not get sufficient amounts of sulfur. Resulting sulfur deficiency is difficult to differentiate clinically from protein deficiency, which is of much greater concern. Hope you have understood this sulfur. Thank you, students. Thank you once again.